my setup today is a little bit different to how we normally set up. So I have got my 2 blocks. And if I move the cushion out of the way, you can hopefully see better. 1 block is on the 3rd height, okay? 1 block is on the 2nd height. And if that feels like it's a bit too high for you, all you're going to do is lower them down like that, okay? But for me, I want us to try to start with 1 block at the 3rd height, 1 at the 2nd, and then you're going to put your cushion to rest over the top of that, all right? And if it's too high, you're just going to take it down to the 2nd height, down to the 1st height, and the cushion will rest on top like that instead, okay? We want to have a little bit more lift of our cushion than we might normally. And we're just going to have about a centimetre or 2 gap between the lower back and the cushion. And then just begin to lower yourself down onto the cushion. Head is going to be on the cushion, so if you need to scoot down a little bit so that it is, do. Scoop the buttocks under. And then just let the legs do their thing. Let the feet fall as they do naturally. And just let your head be supported in such a way that there's a lift of the chin. You don't want to have the chin coming down into the neck. You want to have space through the front of the throat. So take your time to find the right height and then just close your eyes. Settle in. And notice how it feels in the physical body, first of all, to be in this shape. With every breath that you're taking in, there's even more space arriving into that front body. And fascia at the front of the chest and shoulders just naturally starting to melt away from each layer as the gravity does the work for us there as well. And it should feel like you're just here, being supported, being held. Nothing else to worry about, nothing else to think about. And just start to move away from all of the things that you've already done since the moment that you woke up. And see if you can just put to one side all of the things that you've been reading about, things that you've talked about, thought about. Almost hitting pause on everything before this moment. And then see if you can let go of any thinking about the future. So just invite yourself to be present with the breath. No looking back in time, no racing forward in time. Just you and your breath in this moment. Notice how it feels to take a really nice, indulgent breath in through the nose or the mouth. And every breath out, can you just make it an energizing release? It can be through the mouth even if you want to. Almost like a sigh away of anything that's lingering in your mind or bothering you right now. And let yourself just return to a natural rhythm of breathing here. And then just slowly walk the arms in a little bit closer to our body. A little bend into the knees. And just draw the chin to the chest as you lightly push the ground away with your hands. And just slowly start to wrap your arms around your shins and just draw your chin to your chest as you curl forwards. Not a shape as such, but just rounding through the spine, releasing in the opposite direction to where we just were. Just notice how that feels. One more breath in. And then you'll slowly release the legs and just roll yourself up, vertebrae by vertebrae. So let's just move our props here. We're going to take the cushion in front of us or to the side. Have your blocks just to the left or right of your mat. So you're clearing some space on the mat itself. And then come on over onto your stomachs. Okay. We're going to start with a really simple shape and then we'll build on from here. And we're going to have our forearms roughly parallel to each other. Elbows are roughly underneath our shoulders, Sphinx pose. And here's a few different options. So you can simply be like this, looking forward or looking down. You might bring your blocks so that you can rest your forehead onto, okay? And then some of you might like, particularly if shoulders are sensitive at the moment, to bring a cushion somewhere underneath the chest or the ribs. And that's just going to help to lift you up a little here. Okay, so choice is yours. And then close your eyes. Take a moment to just wiggle the toes. And as you wiggle the toes, it's going to remind you to relax the legs and the muscles at the top of the legs and outer hip. Okay, and then come back to the eyes being closed once you're ready. And remember that idea, if you have the cushion underneath you, of breathing into the front and back of the lungs. So try to let your breath be full and relaxed. Welcome this softness in between the eyebrows. Invite that to stay with you all the way through the practice. Invite it to stay with you even into the rest of your day. Relax the tongue, relax the jaw, relax the neck. Maybe even wiggle the upper and lower jaw a little away from each other just to remind those areas to be at ease. And as we work our way through the practice today, I want you to notice those little habits that we have sometimes. Those ways in which we grip, the ways we hold on, and we store tension in our body, often when we're busy or under pressure or things feel a little out of control. We grip to try to maintain control. And I want you to catch yourself in the practice, in the rest of your day, the rest of your week, whenever you need reminding, what am I doing that stores more tension in my body? And how can I start to be aware of that and change the habits? So if you notice the tongue creeping up to the roof of the mouth, just gently melt it away. Now for the final minute here, some of you might like to come up to your hands as you straighten your arms. And some of you might stay down on your forearms, that's okay as well. And some of you might walk the hands in closer to you to lift you up more, and some of you that's not going to feel good, so you'll listen to your body. Legs stay relaxed. And just noticing the sensations in the body, how that shifts, how that changes from when we first arrived into the shape. Notice the ability to stay present with the breath. Or even if you're not 100% present, noticing how easy it is for you to draw the awareness back when you need to. 3 more breaths. When the third breath is complete, those of you who are with your hands on the ground, just slowly start to lower yourself down to your elbows. If there's a cushion in the way, move that first. Okay, and move your blocks out of the way here as well. Cushions out of the way if you need to, and either just make a pillow with your arms for your head to rest on, or what I quite like to do is rest on the left side of my head and just bring the arms alongside the body here. Child's pose, or even cat and cow might feel nice. Stillness or movement as your body needs. Just check into how it feels, particularly in that lower back area, the area we just compressed the tissues in. A direction of the spine that we don't spend enough time in. Modern day living, curling us forward, closing off the front body. And on your third breath, just slowly start to bring the hands nearer to your chest. Push the ground away and just begin to lift yourself up ever so slowly to a comfortable seat. Take your time to arrive and just make sure your mat is free of any props, okay? So we're going to work our way around the spine a little bit here. So we're going to start with the front of the chest here. So in a moment, we'll lie back on our bellies. And if you know the shape already, feel free to go there straight away. Open wing pose. So right arm is going to come out to the side. Palm is going to face onto the ground, okay? And I'm going to talk you through it from here. So I come to the top left corner of my mat. Right arm out to the side. And I'm going to roll onto the right side of my body, right side of my head, and then bend the left knee. Left foot comes behind my right leg, okay? Left hand can stay on the ground here, or I can take it with a bend in the elbow behind my back to here, okay? And some of you might need a cushion under your head. Some of you will be able to bring the head down to the ground. So let's go and set that up together. So we're coming to the top left corner of our mats. Taking the right arm to the right side of the room, palm facing down, arm in line with the top of the mat. Rolling onto the right side of our body, right side of our head. Bending left knee. Foot comes to the ground behind right leg. Left hand either resting in front of our chest or a bend in the elbow as we bring the hand behind our back. And if the legs are not comfortable like this, you can also bend the knees and just rest them on top of each other, facing the same direction as your gaze right now. Check in with whether you need a prop underneath your cheek or whether you feel okay here. And then slow down the breath as you close your eyes. Use these first moments in all of the shapes that we come to today to explore what you're feeling, where you're feeling it, and then how you're feeling. And this shape can feel so delicious to get into this area around the front of the chest. It's one of the only shapes that I can think of without the use of a tennis ball to get into that tighter fascia around the front of the shoulder. And it can be really a troublesome area. When we spend time curling forward, sitting at the desk, we lose that open, broad collarbone, good posture, sitting position. And this muscle gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And the fascia around it gets less and less hydrated, so it gets tighter as well. And eventually our brain believes that this is our new position. This is our new good posture. So it continues to replicate us sitting like this. It becomes the new normal. And it gets harder and harder to undo that. And this shape is a really nice way to be able to open, to release in a simple, easy fashion. Some of you might feel like the fingers go to sleep a little. Know that you'll get that sensation back, not to be worried. Relax the jaw, the tongue. Three more breaths here. 3 more breaths. When the third breath is finished, let's slowly bring the left hand back in front of the chest. Slowly start to straighten out the left leg as we roll onto our stomachs. Turn to rest on the left side of your head now and just bring the right arm back alongside the body. And just pause there. And again, another option would be making a pillow with your arms for your head, or if you need to move, cat and cow might feel nice. Otherwise, just pausing to notice the benefit, the effect of what we've just been doing. There might be a tingling, a warmth, a coolness, or just a feeling of space. 3 more breaths on this side. And when the third breath is finished for you, just slowly bring the hands next to the chest. And just move yourself over now to the top right-hand corner of your mat. And once you get to the top right-hand corner of the mat, extend the left arm out now. Palm of the hand on the ground, arm is parallel to the top of your mat. And then roll onto the left side of your body, left side of your head. Bend the right knee and the right foot comes to the ground behind the left leg. Okay, and then play around with where you want the right hand to be. So it might be in front of the chest, you might bend the elbow and take the arm behind the back. Some of you might even change your knee position so that they're just on top of each other, pointing towards the right side. You might need something to support your head if there's a gap between the head and the ground, and some of you, you'll be just flat to the ground, no problem. One side might look or feel different to the other, and that's all okay. And then settle in, close the eyes, take your time. Notice what there is to feel. This area that we're getting into, it's the lung and the heart meridian line in the Chinese medicine system. And what we're doing is stimulating this pathway of energy so that there's a little more space for the energy to flow fluidly along these meridian lines that run along the inside of the arm and down into the center of the torso. And when there are blockages, sometimes we can feel extremes of sadness, or sometimes a resentment perhaps at how things should be rather than how they are. Maybe we're not so good at taking care of ourselves and remembering that we need to be able to receive as well as give energy. From time to time, things might pop up in your mind that feel challenging. Things that we thought might be a certain way that aren't. Whatever it might be. And see if you can acknowledge those things, but not letting ourselves be consumed by them. And there's that. Three more breaths. And with the third breath finishing, just slowly return the right hand back down to the ground. Take your time, straighten out the right leg. Gently roll yourself onto your stomach. And then turn to rest on the right side of your cheek, right side of your head, and bring the left arm back alongside the body. Wiggle the fingers if you need to get sensation back. Notice how this feels, how you feel, how the breath feels. Three big inhales and exhales just here. When the third of those breaths is finished for you, just walk the fingers back up so the hands come next to the chest, flat to the ground. Push the ground away and lift yourself up to a comfortable seat. Clear space. If anything is in your way in the center of your mat, probably you'll want to face sideways, perhaps, maybe not. We're going to come into a shape that we know is rolling panda. So those of you who know the shape already, feel free to do that. And we're going to start with the right arm. And I'm going to demonstrate for those of you who are not so familiar with the shape. And we're in a tabletop position. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my hands. And we're going to reach the right arm through as far as we can. So it's going to look like left arm to you because I'm mirroring you. And you're resting on the side of the head and the shoulder. And then you have the option to extend the left leg out to the side of the room. And the foot is just relaxed. It's not pushing into the earth here, okay? And then the other arm is going to go up behind you. You'll bend the elbow and the hand is going to reach around to wherever it can get to. And again, there's no effort here. Muscles are relaxed. If you feel like that's a bit wobbly, and for me today it is, you're going to bring both knees to the ground and instead you'll stay like this, okay? So the twist of the spine and the work on the back of the arm is perfect, just like this as well, okay? So if you're not already in the shape, go ahead and come into a tabletop position. And then reach your right arm through and under. You're resting on the back of your right arm and shoulder and the side of your head. And then maybe you're going to extend the left leg out to the side of the mat. And that's going to be the rolling panda bit. So if that feels okay, keep it there. Otherwise, bring the knee back down to the ground. And then once the legs are set up and feel good, you're going to take your left arm behind your back and bend the elbow and just let the hand reach to wherever it can get to without any effort, okay? It might be on the lower back, it might be around to the side of the waist. Some of you, if you have longer arms, it might be around to the inner thigh. And then check in. Does this feel like it's a manageable place for you to stay without your muscles having to do the work for you to be here? And if the answer is yes, stay there. If the answer is no, make some little changes. The knee can come to the ground. The left hand can even rest on the floor instead of behind your back. The head is lifted from the floor, bringing a cushion in between the head and the ground. And then when you're ready, close your eyes. Settle into this shape. And some of these shapes are shapes that we don't practice as often as we perhaps might or should. Some of you might feel like as the moments pass by, the top arm can reach back a little further, and some of you, you'll stay just as you are. And in the Chinese medicine world, the lungs are the meeting point of the inner and outer qi. The first point of the energy from the outer world coming into the body. And the quality of our breath, the quality of what we draw into the lungs is what nourishes the rest of the organs. So notice how it feels to continue to breathe deeply despite these unusual shapes. And notice how that draws in calmness as you slow down the breath naturally, taking ourselves into this calmer part of the nervous system. And how fulfilling it is to be able to know that we can affect the health of everything inside of us. by making time for these shapes. 3 more breaths here. When the third breath is complete, just slowly place the left hand back down to the ground. Bend the left knee, place the left knee onto the ground if it isn't already, and then push the ground away with the left hand to release the right arm. And I quite like to come into simple child's pose from here. Fingers backwards, forehead resting to the ground or a block. And some of you might prefer to lie on your back or your stomach. So just pick the place that suits you best. Fingers can also reach forward in child's pose if that comes more naturally. And just pause. We're going to be here for a little while, just to allow the tissues around the spine to neutralize. While you're here, if you're in child's pose, breathe into the back of the lungs. Let the breath maintain its length, its spaciousness. Three more breaths. And when the third breath finishes, just beginning to walk the hands a little further forward. Pushing into the hands to lift the upper body. Coming on into a tabletop position so that we can arrive to the second side. Okay? So from tabletop position, left arm this time is going to reach all the way under and through. So you'll be resting on the left side of your shoulder, left side of your head. And then begin to extend the right leg out this time. Check in with how that feels. If right leg doesn't feel like a good idea to be like that, bring the knee back down to the ground. And then once you're settled, begin to lift the right arm up and bend the elbow. See how it feels to take the hand behind the back, reaching over to the lower back or the side of the waist as you need. And just settle in. Is it possible for you to stay here for a little while without the muscles holding you here? The practice of Yin is one of surrender, one of letting go of the muscular effort. Putting ourselves into these shapes and letting time and gravity do all of the work for us as we slow down the breath. So if you need to make adjustments, go ahead and make adjustments, nothing forced. Briefly aware of how this side feels compared to the first side. Where do I have balance? Where do I need to create balance? Some of you might feel like that top arm can reach back just a little further, and some of you will stay just as you are. Three more breaths. When the third breath is complete, just slowly placing the right hand back down to the ground. Bringing a bend into the right knee to the floor, and then pushing the ground away with the hand, releasing left arm. Sinking back into your version of child's pose or any other shape that makes sense to you. Wiggle the fingers if you need to get sensation back. Cat and cow if you need movement. And just pause, breathe into the whole of the back of the body. Notice how it feels with this attention that we've given to the thoracic spine and all of the tissues in between and around. The attention we've given to the shoulders and the socket and the tissues that support that area as well. Three more breaths. When the third breath is complete, just slowly start to walk those fingers forward. Hands come next to the chest and we push the ground away. We lift ourselves up to a seat, just bringing the bottom to the ground. And just slowly guide your legs out ahead of you now. Okay? So this shape is focused on the upper back, but you might feel it through the back of the legs here as well. So some of you might sit up a little higher than you normally do. You'll play around and see what you feel like you need. So the legs are ahead of us. Feet are falling in whichever direction they naturally fall. Sitting up tall on the inhale, and then we'll just really lazily, really slowly curl our way forward. And you're filling the gap between the head and the ground, okay? And it might be that you've got blocks that you're resting your head onto. And it might be that you, if you're coming up a bit higher than you normally do, blocks might come either side of your legs. Cushion on top of the blocks. And you might even have the cushion on the long thin end, head resting onto it. I want you to think about curling the spine. So it's not really about how deep you can go forward. It's about articulating through the upper back and lower back. So remember, if you've got a bolster, you can make your blocks become your armrests and your cushion is long so that you're supporting your head in that way. Play around and see what suits you best. And then just close your eyes, settle in. You might initially feel a little sensation in the lower back from the previous shapes that we've been working with. Guide your breath, guide your energy into those areas here. Let the fingers relax, let the tongue relax, the jaw and the neck relaxed. Just notice how it feels to be here without any effort. A lot of work around the shoulders, around the spine. And now we incorporate lower and upper body, although our focus is still on releasing in between the shoulders and in between all of the vertebrae on the back of the body. Can you slow down the breath? Notice how that helps you to slow down the thoughts. Soften the belly. Relax the tongue. Some of you might already feel like there's a little more space through the back of the body, and if that's the case, just slowly making adjustments with your cushions and your blocks so that you can fold a little deeper into your shape. And some of you will feel like there is plenty going on just where you are. Notice how it feels to be here in this simple fold. Slow the breath down just a little bit more. Three more breaths. And when those 3 breaths finish, just begin to roll yourself up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Take your time. And just bring the cushion closer to you, but move your blocks to the side. Letting a little bend into the knees, and you're just going to place the cushion behind your knees. Make sure you have enough space behind you. And you might need to shuffle down the mat a little. And then lie the head down to the ground. Take the arms to wherever feels good as you come into Shavasana. Letting the whole of the back line of the body just melt down to the ground, feeling that level of support. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just this moment in time, your breath and stillness. Just slowly starting to bring a little awareness back into your body as you wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently reaching the arms up overhead, inviting a full body stretch. And drawing the knees slowly in towards center. And giving them a hug as you roll a little side to side, back and forth. Eventually coming to roll over and rest for a moment on whichever side feels best. Keeping your eyes closed, using your hands to gently lift you up to a comfortable seat. And just notice how you feel. Notice how the breath is doing. Everything's slowed down, calmed down, more space. And see if we can carry some of that spaciousness, that calmness with us into the rest of our Sunday. Coming back to it at any time that we might need it. Let's bring our hands gently together at heart center. And bowing our head to our hands in gratitude for the practice, in gratitude for our health. Namaste.